The Senior Bowl's in the books, which means the draft is starting to come into slightly better form. This is the post-Senior Bowl 2-round mock draft from me, ESPN draft nerd Jeremy Greene, and the Sportsocracy. This is what I'm hearing. If the draft happened today, this is how I think it would go. We'll bang through this as quick as we can. 64 selections minus one forfeited pick for the Miami Dolphins. And we start with the Chicago Bears. This team's at 1. Everything I hear, including from Albert Breer, is they're planning on rolling with Justin Fields. What that means is that they will trade this pick to whoever they can get the best offer from. I don't necessarily think that's going to be – I don't think it's going to be a crazy offer. It's not going to be like what we've seen in the past. The one team that seems to be in the mode of making this deal would be the Indianapolis Colts. What would Chicago get? They'll get number 4, which allows them to stay there for one of the best 2 defensive players. They get a second rounder this year, number 35, and a second rounder next year. I think that's all it would be. So I have the Indianapolis Colts trading from number 4 up to number 1, which would allow them, it'd be their only pick in this exercise, but it would allow them to go get the quarterback that they love. And from everything I've heard, that is Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. He's got a big arm. There are some risks with him, but I think having Jonathan Taylor in that backfield, a line that it's improving. I mean, Quentin Nelson's obviously a stud. You got to see what you got out of Bernard Raymond. That's probably good enough going into next year. I know they like Jelani Woods. Hopefully later in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, you'll add a couple targets, and that will give you a good start to this franchise. I'm not going to say rebuild, but retooling. So number 1 pick, Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. Number 2, the Houston Texans. This is a pick that I keep hearing people say, well, don't just assume they're going to take a quarterback because D'Amico Ryan, they're taking a quarterback. I've seen Davis Mills. I know what it is. He's not the future of this team at quarterback. And I frankly think Houston would be ecstatic here because they get the best quarterback in this draft, not the highest upside. That's what you get in Will Levis. They get the best quarterback in this draft at number 2, Bryce Young out of Alabama. The only knock on him really is that he's slightly undersized. He will be one of the smallest quarterbacks drafted in the first round in the modern era. But you watch the tape on him, and it's just intoxicating. He's a great decision maker. The arm is really good. This reunites him with John Mechie. I feel like with that 12 pick that they got from Cleveland for Deshaun Watson, you have to be looking at adding some kind of target, but we'll get to that momentarily. That takes us to number 3 with the Arizona Cardinals. Look, this team doesn't have a coach yet. I think it's going to be Lou Anarumo. He and Mike Kafka are the 2 finalists that I know. It's possible. I'm recording this on Thursday to put it out on Saturday. It's possible we have that information by then. I'm going to say it's Lou Anarumo. And what that makes me think, he had B.J. Hill, he had D.J. Reader. Yes, those were big parts of that scheme. But what he really predicated himself on was being able to get after the passer. There is a player in this draft that does that. I think he will be able to use some of the young talent that Arizona has that Cliff Kingsbury couldn't make the most of. So at number 3, I have them taking edge rusher Will Anderson out of Alabama. In Lou Anarumo's system, he would have his hand in the dirt. I like him better as a standing 3-4 outside linebacker, but that doesn't mean that he can't play with his hand in the dirt. I feel like Anarumo would give him a great chance to succeed and would be a home run pick at number 3. If they took Jalen Carter, would it blow my mind? No, but I just feel like Will Anderson's the better of the 2 players, and he plays a more premium position, which is the tiebreaker for me, and leaves Jalen Carter to go number 4. Speaking of that, with the pick traded down with the Indianapolis Colts, the Chicago Bears select Jalen Carter. I do not feel like he is Aaron Donald, Quinnen Williams level impactful. I do think he can be a very good start to this defense. I like what they did last year with Jaquan Brisker, with Kyler Gordon. I think that's a start. because the defense is going to have to be really good with Justin Fields. They have a lot of money. Now you've got an extra second-round pick that makes up for the pick that you mind-numbingly traded for Chase Claypool. That puts you in a position to add talent. Jalen Carter is the best player on the board. Which gets us to number 5 with the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle loves to trade down. And I'm going to level. There's not a player here that I'm no doubt on. There's a player I like, but I feel like if I'm Seattle, I'm going to make the call of, is there somebody that would like to move down with me here? And there's a former Seattle employee that is now the general manager of the Carolina Panthers. Carolina's at 9. Seattle's at 5. I think you could probably, if you look at the trade value chart, you could get up to number 5 basically for the cost of a 9, obviously, that 39 pick in the second round, which I don't love giving up. But I'm okay with it if it leads to me getting the quarterback of the future that I'm targeting. I don't, in my original mock draft, I had CJ Stroud falling to them. I'm not so sure that's how that would go. I think it's more likely that you're going to have to actually pony up the assets to get there. My trade, there we go. This says that's too much. All right, so I'm going to have to do this the way that it works. So we'll do 239 along with number 9. I believe they would get something else, probably a mid-round pick. But since this is only a 2-round mock draft, only that second rounder matters. I think it would be 5 for 9, number 39, and probably 4, 132. But that gets Carolina to number 5 with Frank Reich. I do believe they're going to, whether it's Sam Darnold or CJ Stroud, I don't know. Darnold will be more expensive than Stroud in the short term. And I think if he falls to 5 and you can get up there, you still have the second-round pick from the trade with Christian McCaffrey. You just do it. So at number 5, the Carolina Panthers select quarterback CJ Stroud out of Ohio State. There are a lot of people that the tape on him is inconsistent. He has a little bit of that Justin Fields problem of, I don't go through progressions. I just know my receiver is going to get open. And so I stare him down until he gets open. That does scare me in the league, but I do like Frank Reich. I think with DJ Moore, they'll look to add a running back probably or another weapon of some kind with that 61 overall pick. I don't feel like the compensation is too much and allows Carolina. That probably makes you the best team in this division because you're looking at Tampa Bay, who's probably going to be with Blaine Gabbert, Kyle Trask, something of that mold. CJ Stroud would make Carolina the best team in this division, depending on what Atlanta and New Orleans do with Derek Carr or whatever the case may be. But I feel like this would be a home run for the Carolina Panthers to trade up to number 5 and get CJ Stroud. The Detroit Lions, I've considered a lot of things here. I can't get away from this player with them. I think he fits better with Detroit than he does with Seattle. At number 6, Tyree Wilson, I'm not even going to call him an edge. He's just a defensive line freak of nature out of Texas Tech. Really tall, really lean. The tape is not necessarily super consistent, but the good is really good, and I think that's enough. If I'm the Detroit Lions, I think I can house that talent. I've still got another pick in the mid-teens, and this is really amping up my defense to keep up with my offense. Number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a spot that I'm going to catch a lot of shit, and I'm just going to be honest. This is not my pick. Every person I talk to, anybody in this league that I talk to, they constantly put this kid with the Las Vegas Raiders. At number 7, Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida. This kid is a year away from being a year away. The high side is really good. Big-bodied, fast, big arm. He reminds me of Tim Tebow, which I've seen, obviously, the tie with Josh McDaniels. And he once said, I could take any high schooler and turn them into a Pro Bowler. And just the hubris, all of those things. Anthony Richardson is the quarterback that is left. Derek Carr is obviously not going to be there. I don't buy the Aaron Rodgers is coming to Las Vegas. I don't care what the Vegas odds are. To me, Aaron Rodgers either plays with the New York Jets or he plays with the Green Bay Packers. There's no in between. because those are the two teams that you could, in theory, be high-level competitive with right now. Number 7, Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida, to the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. You got a lot open to you here, and this is one of the toughest picks in the draft for me because I'm just not exactly sure. Myles Murphy is not a top 10 pick. He's not. And now I think other people in the industry are starting to figure that out. So the question would be, where do you turn if you're Atlanta? There's really no way to trade out. There's really nobody that is going to jump up and down to come get your pick. So I feel like you're almost shoehorned into taking Myles Murphy here at number 8 because you do have to have an edge. Unless you believe, like I do, that Lucas Van Ness is actually a better prospect moving forward. We just haven't seen him as much, which is why at number 8, Lucas Van Ness, the edge out of Iowa to the Atlanta Falcons. He's never started a game. Pass rush win rate is through the roof. This is one of the best pass rushing prospects I've ever seen. It's just a really small sample size. A lot of people will say, oh, well, he's going to go at the end of the first round. No, he's not, because Myles Murphy has Clelin Ferrell 2.0 written all over him, and you put him in Atlanta with the expectation he's going to come in and be an elite pass rusher right away. You're setting yourself up for disaster. So I go get a higher upside, probably equally dangerous floor in Lucas Van Ness at number 8. The Seattle Seahawks down here at number 9. They traded down. They got extra assets, and this is what they do. Now the question is, which one of these players do you feel the best about? And there's one that I really think fits their scheme, would allow them to slide Kobe Bryant into a third corner role, and would give you just a formidable set of corners. Number 9, Christian Gonzalez, the corner out of Oregon. Kid started at Colorado. The tape last year was phenomenal. I think he and Tariq Woolen would immediately be a top 6 corner tandem in the league. Kind of reminds me of what the Jets have of, I can just match the two of you up based on body size, height, weight, speed. Which one do you match up better with? And now the secondary is really good. You get Jamal Adams back as the blitzer, and with the extra pick later, I can try to address an extra edge. There's just not an edge that I feel really good about taking right here. Number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. There were 2 names that I considered here, and the more I thought about it, I couldn't get away from, at number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles select Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. This is my number 1 prospect in this class. He is the only A-plus blue chip talent in this class. Philadelphia, obviously playing in the Super Bowl tomorrow. This could be the reigning Super Bowl champions with a pick in the top 10 and the chance to add the best player in the draft. That's what Philadelphia does. I considered a corner right there, and I'm not going to lie, they will think about it really hard, because if they're not able to bring back James Bradberry, Devin Witherspoon would be an intriguing selection, but I'm just not sure they could bypass Bijan Robinson there at number 10. On the screen, you will see the top 10 as we go into the number 11 pick, which belongs to the Tennessee Titans. We're through 10 picks. If you like these picks, if you don't like them, if you want to know what I think about what your team should do, comment that, subscribe, all those good things. Or if you frankly just want to call me a big mulleted dipshit, I have pretty thick skin. It's not going to hurt my feelings. We continue on here with the Tennessee Titans at number 11. And frankly, I'm always a fan of taking just the best player, especially when that player fills a need of yours. Tennessee saw last year that with the line where it is, you're going to have to address something. The highest rated player left on my board is Peter Skoronski, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. Look, I've heard all of the qualms with the kid, that his arms aren't long enough. He's an athletic freak of nature. He's a great leader. Every person that's ever been around him will tell you that same thing. He's got some hand issues at times, but I think that's going to round into form as time goes on. I just don't worry about him. I know there are some linemen with better measurables. They don't have better tape. And at some point, the tape has to matter. So at number 11, I go Peter Skoronski to the Tennessee Titans. Houston back on the clock, first team with a second pick in the first round. And this is probably the easiest pick in the draft for me. because you've got to get weapons to put around Bryce Young, and there's one that's just better than everybody else. At number 12, the Houston Texans, Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU. I know some teams aren't in love with him. I don't really understand why. He's the best deep threat in this draft. He's 6'4". He's going to run in the high 4.3s to low 4.4s. I have said I think his high side is Julio Jones level good. You pair that with Nico Collins. You pair that with John Mechie. They're going to move Brandon Cooks. I would say that probably gets you a day 3 pick. I don't see him coming back, but you add the big play weapon for Bryce Young, and that gives him the best chance to succeed to me. Are there some warts with him? Yes, there's warts with everyone. This is not a great draft class. So you take the best playmaker on the board and you hope for the best. I think every receiver in this draft class is going to be pushed down. I have Quentin Johnston in the top 10, and I can't see him falling past the Houston Texans at number 12. My New York Jets at number 13. This is an interesting spot for me because this is a really good roster. With no Corey Davis, I'm not sure that they would have allowed Quentin Johnston to get by them if Houston hadn't taken him. They did, so that's not on the board. The question is, do you take the safety now? Because you do need a safety. Brian Branch would make sense. I wouldn't be super averse to that, but the offense is the problem. I feel like you have to add something to that offense, and there's one that just sticks out above the rest of me, and that's Paris Johnson, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. He is, to me, the closest to Peter Skoronski. I've seen him play multiple positions. He's a gigantic man, 6'6", 310. I know Mekhi Becton's still on the roster, but you really can't trust that. If he comes back and he's healthy, that's just an added layer. I could play Becton on the left and Paris Johnson on the right. I could flip it. Elijah Vera Tucker. There's a lot of things I can do there. But to me, this gives me the pieces that I know I go into next year, whether it's protecting Aaron Rodgers, whatever the case may be, I know I'm in good shape. There is a possibility that that 13th pick would be required to get Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. But if they have it, I feel like you have to go offensive line there. New England Patriots at number 14. This is a team that's interesting to me because I considered a lot of different things here. And this is a player that I'm not going to lie, I don't love, but I think I would really like him in New England. Number 14 overall, Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. The fact he didn't play in the bowl game has pissed a lot of people off. But if you look at the tape, he is probably the most talented receiver in this class. There are some limitations. I'm not sure he's ever going to be Garrett Wilson. I'm not sure he's ever going to be Chris Olave. But he would be the best receiver in the building for the New England Patriots, would allow Bill O'Brien, who has obviously been in college football, so he's got a pretty good eye on Jackson Smith-Njigba. I feel like this is the best landing spot for him. If he doesn't go here at 14, I could see him falling all the way into the 20s. There is a run on receivers that we'll get to momentarily, but I feel like New England takes the opportunity to take the best receiver left on the board, Jackson Smith-Njigba at number 14. The Green Bay Packers at number 15. This is probably the hardest team in the NFL to get a read on, because if it's Aaron Rodgers, you have to lather up and try to make another run at a title. In this exercise, Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay. That's the reason the Jets picked at 13. That's the reason I'm making the pick that I'm making here. At number 15, Michael Mayer, tight end out of Notre Dame. I've heard a lot of slights on this kid that don't make any sense to me. If you watch the tape and you just watch this kid over the last handful of years at Notre Dame, he's a top 10 prospect in this class. Best blocking tight end by a mile. I think he's going to be a high-level receiving threat in the NFL. I think he's a top 6 tight end in the league 2 years in. And this would give another weapon, allow those younger receivers to develop in Green Bay, and would give you a chance to just basically lather up and do it again with one more shot at a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Number 16, the Washington Commanders, who have come out and said Sam Howell is going to be QB1 going into the offseason. Thank you. And I don't know why that took you so long. They also said they're not going to spend high-level capital to invest in a backup quarterback. So what do? All right, you got to give – I feel like the receivers are good. I feel like you're fine at running back. you've got pieces here. There is one player that sticks out above the rest to me for what would help Sam Howell in his first legitimate year as the starter. At number 16, Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. This kid was a high-level recruit. The tape on him is really good. I think he's a plug-and-play, immediate left tackle in the NFL. There's going to be some growing pains, as there will be with any offensive lineman, but he is the best tackle on the board and would be an immediate starter for Washington and would allow you to see what you really have in Sam Howell. Number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who at this point just said a lot of obscenities because they would have taken Broderick Jones had he fallen to them. Pittsburgh has two primary needs to me. It's a question of which can you get with that pick from the Bears at number 32. There are a lot of corners still on the board. There's only one real plug-and-play offensive lineman left, which is why at number 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Osiris Torrance, guard out of Florida. This kid's got legs like tree trunks. He is an immediate. I think he's a top 7 or 8 guard in the NFL as a rookie. At the Senior Bowl, he just blew everybody out of the water, and he strikes me as a Pittsburgh Steeler type of player. I know they need a tackle. There's not one to be had here. So you just shore it up at guard with Osiris Torrance. Hopefully that'll help you in the run game and help take some of the pressure off Kenny Pickett. The Detroit Lions at number 18. This is the happiest team in the NFL because this kid may go in the top 10. Here in this exercise, he falls to the Detroit Lions at 18, and they would sprint to the podium. At number 18, the Detroit Lions, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. Look, that was not a good team last year. They already have a former teammate of his in Kirby Joseph that's playing safety for them. So I feel like they've probably gotten pretty good eyes on Devin Witherspoon. He's just an aggressive bulldog of a corner that I think 1 year with Aaron Glenn, you're going to see how good this kid can actually be. I think this is the one moving forward. And they would be the happiest team in the NFL if he were to fall to them at 18. 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team is not good. And there's really not much you can do at quarterback. I considered taking Tanner McKee here. I fully believe they're going to make a run at a veteran of some kind, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr. I don't know. The roster is too good for you to just tap out and hand it to Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert or whatever the case may be. I feel like they have to do something, but there's not a solution there at number 19. There is, however, a solution to a problem that they've had for a long time, and it's about to get worse because they're going to lose Jamel Dean. So at number 19, I'm between a few corners. There's one that I feel like can play off in a way that the others really can't. Joey Porter is a very aggressive, that's not a Todd Bowles type of corner. Kelly Ringo is, there's a lot of raw talent there, but I'm not so sure how well he fits in a system. So here at number 19, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cam Smith, cornerback out of South Carolina. He is more versatile than any of the other corners I just said. Now, he's a little thin, and I'm not sure that he has the high side that the others do. I just feel like he fits this scheme way better than the other two do. And that's why at 19, the selection for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is Cam Smith. Seattle Seahawks back on the board here at number 20, and this is where you can take a shot. This kid's fallen quite a ways. If Osiris Torrance was on the board, he would be a Seattle Seahawk. He's not. He went to Pittsburgh. So at number 20 to the Seattle Seahawks, Myles Murphy, edge out of Clemson. When you have extra draft capital like this, you can take the shot. Myles Murphy is there are a lot of varying opinions on him. Some people see him as Clelin Ferrell 2.0. That feels like a bit of a lazy comparison to me because they did play at the same spot. Clemson is notoriously rose-colored glasses with their players and won't necessarily tell you of the warts. That makes teams do due diligence on them, which is why I think Myles Murphy's going to get pushed down. But at number 20, the ability to come in as just a situational pass rusher to start. I don't know that he's ever going to hold up against the run, but in Seattle, he can come in and be a true pass rush specialist. And at number 20, Miles Murphy to the Seattle Seahawks. On your screen, you'll see the top 20 picks. We are on to number 21 with the Los Angeles Chargers. If you like these picks, if you hate these picks, if you just want to call me a big mulleted dipshit, hit the subscribe button, throw your comments out there. I respond to all of them. If you want to know how a player fits with your team, feel free to throw that in the comments as well. We will be doing all kinds of mock drafts, team by teams. Next week, we're starting Mullet's makeover on all the teams that didn't make the playoffs, what I would do in free agency in the draft to put you in the playoffs next year. 21, the Los Angeles Chargers. A report has come out that the belief around LA is that Keenan Allen will not be back with the Los Angeles Chargers. That makes this pick really easy for me. Number 21 overall, Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. This kid immediately comes in and becomes a Keenan Allen replacement. He's a slot-specific receiver, but he's a huge deep play threat. He's not as big as you would like him to be, but with Kellen Moore coming in to call these plays, I feel like this is the kind of player that he can make the best use of. At 175 pounds, that does make me a little nervous, but it's not enough to push him any further down the board. Number 21 to the Los Angeles Chargers, Jordan Addison. Baltimore Ravens here at number 22. This is a really talented roster, but they have one great big deficiency, and it's at wide receiver. The good thing is there's a lot of receivers in this draft. I considered several, but there's one above all the rest that fills a role that I've seen be successful with Lamar Jackson, with the Baltimore Ravens. So at number 22, Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. I have been all over this kid for years because he and Phil Jakovic were it was a tandem that I was just obsessed with. He's only 5'9", but he's a legitimate 4.3 40 kind of guy that is the deep shot that the Baltimore Ravens need. Pair him with Rashad Bateman if he's healthy. I feel like you'll draft another one later in the draft to add the receivers in the room to get the most out of Lamar Jackson. Minnesota Vikings here at number 23. This is an interesting team that I feel like is going to just fall ass backwards into a player that really would be a nice fit for them. Number 23 overall, the Minnesota Vikings, Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State. He is better than the 23rd best player in this draft. The problem is guys like Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon have a lot more momentum right now, which means one of these guys is going to fall. It'll also lead into the 24th pick here momentarily. It's not that I don't like the tape on Joey Porter. I do. I just think he's specific to the role he's going to have. And I would like him opposite Patrick Peterson with this Minnesota Vikings team. He's a very good player. He's very physical, long, super talented corner, and would be a great pick at number 23. Number 24, this is I've heard this one too many times for me to not put some real credence into it, that Jacksonville likes this guy. And this might be his drop dead spot. Number 24 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Kelee Ringo, cornerback out of Georgia. In terms of just sheer athletic ability, Kelee Ringo is the best corner in this draft class. He's tall, he's long. There's not going to be a corner or a receiver in the NFL that he can't defend. The problem is that he's very lazy at times with his eyes, and he gets baited. He uses his athleticism. He'll play off, try to catch up. The way Jacksonville views him, from what I have been told, as the perfect pairing, because they see a lot of Tyson Campbell in him. They think those two together would be a lockdown corner tandem in the league that no receiving core could really deal with. If you look at what they're dealing with in the AFC South, Michael Pittman. Now you can't move him away from Tyson Campbell because you go to Kelee Ringo. Good pick here at 24 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The New York Giants at 25. This has been a receiver for me forever. It's not now, because I feel like at 57 you'll be able to get a receiver. You're going to be reaching on one here. Now, there is a kid that he catches passes too. He's just not a wide receiver, and he has screamed up draft boards. Number 25 to the New York Giants, Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. There are a good number of people that think he's actually the best tight end in this class. He's not as good of a blocker to me as Michael Mayer, and it's really not all that close. This is more the move piece type of tight end. Think to Dawson Knox. That's what Brian Daboll had with the Buffalo Bills. That's kind of what Dalton Kincaid reminds me of. He's going to be a high-level pass-catching tight end. Leaves a lot to be desired as a blocker, but he's the best pass catcher on the board and would be a nice fit at number 25 to the New York Giants. Staying in the same division, the Dallas Cowboys at number 26. There's a lot of defensive players on the board here that are intriguing to me, but there's one above all else. I look at Dan Quinn and how he wants to run this defense, and I can't figure out how he would allow this player to pass. Number 26 overall, Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. This kid's a do-everything, all-world kind of player. A lot of people say, well, Nick Saban gets the most out of every player he's ever coached defensively. I get that. I don't care. He comes in as a ready-made piece in that secondary that will allow Dan Quinn to be more multiple, which is what he's after. To me, that's one of my favorite pairings in this draft. At number 26 overall, Brian Branch to the Dallas Cowboys. The Buffalo Bills at number 27. You saw a problem with them in the AFC playoffs. The offensive line was just not very good, which is why at number 27, Cody Mauch, interior offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. This kid looks like somebody that would drink domestic lights and then eat the can. Came into North Dakota State, as a tight end, gained almost 100 pounds, and now just looks like a stark, raving, crazy person. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. He fits that Buffalo mindset. He will help you in the running game, and he is a plug-and-play replacement to Roger Saffold, who was a huge disappointment as a free agent addition in the offseason. 27 of the Buffalo Bills, Cody Mauch, offensive lineman out of North Dakota State. Continuing on at number 28 with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's mock draft time, which means it's time for me to again say Jonah Williams is a guard, is a guard, is a guard. Now, I'm not so sure that any of the guys I'm getting ready to talk about can play left tackle immediately. I could see a path that either one of them could get to that point in time. DeJuan Jones came into the Senior Bowl and has the longest wingspan ever in the history of the Senior Bowl. But the tape for me is not as good as the player I'm going to take, which is Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of Tennessee. He comes in immediately. But Lyle Collins, I get it. I'm not so sure that you don't start him on the left side. Just push Jonah Williams into guard. That will allow him some flexibility to learn to play this position. I don't necessarily think he is shoehorned into playing right tackle the way that a lot of other people do. He would be an improvement over Jonah Williams right now. The tape is very good. He was very good at the Senior Bowl. I think it screamed him up draft boards, and he would be a nice fit at number 28 to the Cincinnati Bengals. 29 with the New Orleans Saints. The question here is, do you try to shoehorn a quarterback? There are only really two. Or are you going to make the move on Derek Carr? They're the only team I know definitively that is in on Carr, so I'm going to say that's how this is going to go, which means that I don't have to shoehorn a quarterback in here, and I can just look down the board at what is it that actually would fit my team. This is New Orleans is a team that's been predicated on pass rush and defense for years, and that's going to continue. But I feel like you need an injection of talent. And at number 29 overall, Kalijah Kancey, defensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. If he was 2 inches taller, he would be a top 15 pick. Mel Kiper had him at 10, that's too high. All right, 10's too high. But here at 29, I think he's the best player left on the board. He would be an immediate plug and play. It's not the biggest need for New Orleans, but it certainly is a need. ACC Player of the Year, super talented, and would not have made it through the next 3 picks. He would have either gone to Kansas City or to Philadelphia. Speaking of Kansas City, on the board here at number 30, few places I considered here, but what does Kansas City do so well? Just sit in a spot and take a player that he shouldn't be here. And I know the tape on this kid is somewhat inconsistent, but I think he would be an ideal pairing next to Chris Jones, and that's Brian Brise, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I've already said this about Miles Murphy. I feel like the sum of all parts at Clemson has pushed all of these guys up too far. Now we're dropping them too far. Brian Brise should not last to 30, and yet I'm damn near positive that he's going to. And one of these good teams is going to snatch him up and have just a phenomenal player. And 3 years from now, those mid-tier teams, how did we miss on him? Well, because you let some inconsistent tape and a couple injuries push him down the board. Number 30, Brian Brise, defensive lineman to the Kansas City Chiefs. Philadelphia Eagles here on the board at number 31. Already took Bijan Robinson at number 10 overall. And there's another play. I think I've had this kid in every mock draft to Philadelphia. And this doesn't matter if they re-sign Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or not. It's Antonio Johnson, safety out of Texas A&M. They kind of remind me of each other, except Antonio Johnson's a lot bigger. There are people in the league that think he's going to play outside corner in the league. He's just a move piece, very valuable on a defense like Philadelphia's, just an infusion of talent. And he's a player that's, in terms of scheme fit, there's probably not a better one in the entire league. Antonio Johnson, the last pick of the first round to the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, we're through one round. We got another round to go, and we will do this reasonably rapid fire. On your screen, you'll see the entire first round. That's every pick, all 31, plus the forfeited pick from the Miami Dolphins. Whether you like these picks, hated these picks, whatever the case may be, feel free to comment that in the comments. If there's a player you would like to know what I think about, how I think about them with your team, whatever the case may be, or if you just want to call me a big mulleted dipshit, feel free to do that in the comments as well. Subscribe. We're live every weekday with our ESPN Radio Asheville show live here in the Sportsocracy. Starting the second round with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have Chicago's pick. And I said earlier a team would be really happy with how things fell. Well, so would the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because at number 32, Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Very athletic. I don't feel like he's good enough to be a pick at 17. I considered it. The fact he was here, I've remade this offensive line. Now I can slide Dan Moore into guard, which is where he belongs. And now I think I'll be able to run the ball. I like the weapons that I have anyway, and this gives me the best chance to succeed with Kenny Pickett. The Houston Texans here at number 33. This is a pick that I cannot stop. I can't stop doing this because I just watched D'Amico Ryans with Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw, who are super athletic linebackers that really make his defense go. This is also a linebacker that kind of reminds me of D'Amico Ryans. At number 33, Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson. That's the signal caller. I'm telling you right now, if he's on the board, D'Amico Ryans will take him, and 4 years from now, we'll be talking about how that might be the best pick in this entire draft. Moving on to number 34 with the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona took Will Anderson at number 3. Still have a good number of needs. I feel like they're going to move DeAndre Hopkins. That's been a reported move all offseason long. I'm not necessarily sure that you should do that, but one position that I know you need some help at, and he's still on the board, number 34 overall, DeJuan Jones, offensive tackle out of Ohio State. I love this kid, the way he measured at the Senior Bowl, a lot of the tape that I saw at the Senior Bowl. He's an immediate plug-and-play that will help you when Kyler Murray gets back. He's the best player on the board. This is not going to be a great year in Arizona because you're not going to have Kyler Murray for the first half of the year. And so I just take a high upside. We'll figure it out as we go along in DeJuan Jones. Number 35, the Chicago Bears. I'm between three players here. And for me, there's just one that I know can play on the outside. I think he's an immediate addition to Justin Fields, allows you to use his deep ball arm. At number 35, Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee. I considered Kayshon Boutte there, but there's some personality things with him that make me nervous. I can't quite take him this high, so he continues to get pushed down the board just a little bit. The Los Angeles Rams at number 36. I'm not in love with this player, but I really like him in this system. The biggest thing that the Rams were missing last year, other than offensive line pieces, of which you can look on the board and see, okay, there's maybe not that many of those. The thing that I feel like they were missing last year was a true edge rusher. I'm not as wild about this kid as a lot of other people are. He's a little thin to me, but he flashes in a way that I feel like if you get him in the building and you ask him to just be a pass rusher, I think he can do that. At number 36 overall, Isaiah Foskey, edge out of Notre Dame. Seattle Seahawks with the first of not back-to-back, but pretty damn close. At number 37, they've already taken Christian Gonzalez. They've already taken Miles Murphy. I don't feel like you're going to take a quarterback. You're in on Geno Smith. I don't think there's a quote-unquote developmental guy to take right here. However, there is a player that I'm really high on, and it really showed out at the Senior Bowl. He has a first-round grade for me now, but gets pushed down to 37. It's John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota. Las Vegas Raiders are pissed that they didn't get the offensive lineman right there that they wanted, but there are still several players that are worth taking here, and there was one that shined to me over the course of the Senior Bowl week process, and that's Matthew Bergeron. I'm not going to say tackle because I can't tell you definitively it's what he's going to play. I know he's going to play somewhere, and he's going to do it at a high level out of Syracuse. Seattle back on the board here, and am I going to tell you this is their biggest need? No, but the fact this kid's still on the board, you could be in the last year of Tyler Lockett, could be an ultimate replacement to him, and for a year you're going to have three really high-level receivers. At number 39, Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina. New Orleans Saints on the board at number 40. If you go get Derek Carr, which I think you're going to do, it would be nice to have somebody to replace Michael Thomas because at this point you just can't trust him. I do like Rasheem Shaheed. I obviously love Chris Olave, but I think adding one more playmaker. At number 40, Kayshon Boutte, wide receiver out of LSU. New Orleans being that close, I feel like they're going to have better information on him than anybody else. And that leads me to believe that if they're comfortable with him, we should be comfortable with him. On to number 41 with the Tennessee Titans, they took Peter Skoronski at number 11, who will be their left tackle of the future. And here at number 41, they need a weapon. And there is one that he did not play at the Senior Bowl. He played in the Shrine Bowl, and he absolutely annihilated everyone in front of him. Don't let the ranking on NFL Mock Draft Database mess with you because they haven't moved it. Number 41, A.T. Perry, wide receiver out of Wake Forest. Big-bodied kid, great body control, would be an immediate impact force for the Tennessee Titans with Treylon Burks. And no matter who the quarterback is, you have now put yourself in a position to succeed. 42 with the Cleveland Browns, their only pick in this exercise, and this one's easy for me. The biggest drawback of Cleveland last year was they didn't have anybody in the middle that could stop the run. There's one sitting here at 42 that I'm absolutely in love with, and it's Mozzie Smith, gigantic defensive tackle out of Michigan. My New York Jets here at 43. You got Paris Johnson in the first round. There are two positions I would consider here. Safety is one. I feel like I can get a safety later on, but a position of real need, and I considered two guys here. There's one that I just like way better than the other. Number 43, Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. 44 with the Atlanta Falcons. Got Lucas Van Ness earlier, and I feel like you can look at a lot of different positions here. But there's one with a player that I really like. He's still on the board. It's definitely a position of need for them, especially in the long term. Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback out of Mississippi State. Green Bay back on the board after taking Michael Mayer earlier in the draft. And if you look at what's available, there are a lot of players that I think would be nice fits here. Darnell Washington is somebody that I had. If they don't take a tight end in the first round, I would look for Darnell Washington to go here. He reminds me a lot of Mercedes Lewis. But obviously you're not going to take two tight ends. So the question is, what would you do? And there's a player that I think really fits their scheme and would be a nice addition right off the jump, and that's Andre Carter II, edge rusher out of Army. New England Patriots on the board at 46. This is a kid that really shot his value through the roof in the Senior Bowl week. The more you've watched the tape, he was a good player on a bad team. Defensive lineman, because I think he can do a lot of things. Keon White out of Georgia Tech. Washington Commanders on the board here. Already took Broderick Jones. I feel like this is a team that needs a corner badly. There's not necessarily a lot of guys that I feel tremendous about right here, but there's one that I think would be nice value, can come in and play right away, and that's Riley Moss, cornerback out of Iowa. Detroit Lions at number 48. They do what I've been waiting to see what team would do, because this is just another weapon to give to Jared Goff. He has shot up draft boards. I could easily see him going higher than this. Some people have him in the back end of the first round. It's Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State. Pittsburgh Steelers already taken 2 offensive linemen. I feel like at this point you've got to go get a corner. And there is one that he had a great Senior Bowl week. He's got the body type. He's a really long corner. Seattle would love to get their hands on this guy, but he falls to 49 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Julius Brents, cornerback out of Kansas State. Number 50 here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No matter what you do at quarterback, I feel like you're going to have to add a piece here. This will be the second time they've done damn near the exact same thing, which is take the 5th best quarterback in a class in the middle of the second round. Tanner McKee, quarterback out of Stanford. Miami Dolphins at number 51 overall. You just have to add skilled players. It's not so much a what is our positional need, what do we need. I don't care about any of that. You need to add talented players. And there's one on the board that I think would really add to that defense. Very good edge rusher. He's really thin, so he's going to be a situational pass rusher to start. I don't know that he can ever add the weight to be a 3-down player, but he will be an impact pass rusher in this league. Will McDonald, edge out of Iowa State. Seattle with their 5th pick in this exercise. Already gone 2 on the defense, 2 on the offense. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is almost I'm going to call this a luxury pick because it's not necessarily your biggest need. And I really struggle to say this guy's name. Tuli Tuipulotu, defensive tackle from USC. Almost to the end here, only got 11 picks left. It's the Chicago Bears with the 53rd pick in the draft. This is a luxury, and this is under the assumption that they do not bring back David Montgomery. We're to number 53, only 11 picks left in this mock draft, and 2 of them belong to the Chicago Bears. With this one, they've already gone Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. You've gotten a wide receiver to help Justin Fields and Jalen Hyatt. And here you take a player that I love the tape on. I'm not 100% sure what position he's going to play, but I know he's going to be able to get after quarterbacks in the NFL. It's B.J. Ojulari, edge out of LSU. Los Angeles Chargers at number 54 got Jordan Addison in the first round, and here they get a player that I actually had him taking in the first round in my first mock draft, Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle out of Florida. Sticking with the defensive tackle train, the Detroit Lions add another piece to that defense. Already got Devin Witherspoon and Tyree Wilson. Here they add Keanu Benton, defensive tackle out of Wisconsin. Had a great week at the Senior Bowl. Looks to be a 3-down interior defensive lineman. Just another piece for Aaron Glenn to play with, and that would be an A+ first 2 rounds for the Detroit Lions. Jacksonville Jaguars here already got Keely Ringo, with their first pick in the first round. Now you add a player he's a plug-and-play, ready to play right now. I'm just never sure his high side is going to be that great. This would, in theory, allow you to move Walker Little over, but to the right side where he belongs. Tyler Steen, offensive tackle out of Alabama. New York Giants at number 57. You got Dalton Kincaid early. You still need a receiver of some kind. And I'm not going to lie, there are several of them on the board here. but there's one who just absolutely blew the Senior Bowl out of the water. Nobody could defend him. Jaden Reed, wide receiver out of Michigan State. Don't let the ranking fool you. He is not lasting. If he lasts into the third round, he won't last long into the third round. He was the best player in Mobile, and it wasn't really all that close. Dallas Cowboys at 58. It's a team with still has a lot of needs, and there's one player that I just absolutely love for them. He fits that hard-nosed linebacker type. There are some people like him better than I do. I just like him for this scheme a lot, and it's Henry To'o, the linebacker out of Alabama. Buffalo Bills at number 59. You got Cody Mauch early. I feel like there's a lot of places that you could go here. But one of the things that just really stuck out to me watching them over the course of time, you just need somebody that plays corner that's – I mean, I'm not asking for a lockdown. This guy shouldn't still be here. He's very scheme-specific. He's a slot corner exclusively because he is short, but he's too talented to still be here, and that's Clark Phillips III, cornerback out of Utah. Cincinnati Bengals back on the clock. Darnell Wright went at number 28. They're on the clock here at number 60. And, you know, I'm not going to tell you that this is not a luxury pick, but when you take in the recent issues with their existing running back, the fact that this kid's still on the board could be a long-term play. It's Jahmyr Gibbs, running back out of Alabama. Carolina Panthers right here are the angriest team in the NFL because that's exactly who they were going to take if he had lasted to them. So they have to go a slightly different route. This is another player that just jumped off the page at the Senior Bowl. I have now moved him ahead of Devin Achane as the next running back in the class, and that's Tyjae Spears, running back out of Tulane. Kansas City Chiefs with our next to last pick here in the second round. They already got Brian Brise, and I'm just going to say this is the most Kansas City Chiefs pick in the history of time. It's Nolan Smith, the edge out of Georgia. A lot of people think you've already seen the best from him. There are some injury issues. He's coming off an injury, so that's why he falls all the way down here, but he would be a tremendous pick for Kansas City at number 62. And the Philadelphia Eagles with the last pick. You already got Bijan Robinson. You already got Antonio Johnson. I feel like this is a true definition of a luxury pick. Number 63 with the Philadelphia Eagles, you already got Bijan Robinson. You already got Antonio Johnson. I feel like now you can either take a shot on an edge, of which there are a few out there that I wouldn't be averse to. I just feel like you can get a legit edge prospect because this is a year away from being a year away. He'd be an ultimate replacement. I don't necessarily feel like you have to do that. I considered corner, but there's not one that I feel great about taking here. So I'm going to go the ultimate luxury pick, Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle out of Maryland. This kid's a big dancing bear. He's not really ready to play right now, but you can put him in mothballs, use him as a swing tackle. He's hyper athletic. And down the line could ultimately be the Lane Johnson replacement and would give you two gigantic bookend tackles. There we go. That's 2 rounds of mock draft, 63 selections. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like this mock draft. We'll be doing draft things all Draftmas season long, all the way up until the end of April and the 2023 NFL Draft. I am ESPN draft nerd Jeremy Greene. We are the Sportsocracy. We thank you so much for checking us out. Be sure to click that subscribe button, comment, all those things that help the channel more than we could ever say, and we will see you next time.